Hey, Steve Axtell here. Welcome to Axtell Expressions. We're here in the workshop with a good friend, Nancy Berk.
Steve, it's so good to be here. I'm so excited, surrounded by you, chickens, old men, dinosaurs.
Exactly, yeah.
Anything you could ever want.
I got you covered with the old man. I tell you, Nancy is a writer and an incredible contributor to a lot of really up-and-coming stars and some other things that she's done. Would you tell us your history and background?
I don't know. People say you do a lot of things. I say I'm old. I've had a lot of time. I am a clinical psychologist by training, but I've always been a humor writer, a comedy writer, and I also write for Forbes.com, Hollywood and Entertainment, and I've had a long time podcast before every mother had a podcast. I had a podcast. So, I don't know. We're coming up on 12 years, 13 years?
Wow.
It might be 12 years. Entertaining Insights. So I interview celebrities and newsmakers, reality, folks that pop up in reality. So lots of rock and rollers and ventriloquists.
Yes, I've been on your show.
I know.
Terry Fader.
Celebrities.
And yeah, it's really exciting to hear that you've come into our niche market of ventriloquism. And you're working with a lot of ventriloquists now as
Who
a
would have
writer.
thought?
This is exciting.
It's like a weird way that it happened because I just came to cover a story about ventriloquism because I thought it would be, I thought it would just be an interesting thing to do because I've always been fascinated.
Forbes or for?
That was, I decided I was going to cover it for Parade.com. So I came to the convention after I had interviewed Paul Zerden after he won America's Got Talent. I went to the convention and I met Annie, and then she connected me with Gary Owen, who was connecting people with all of the talent, and then the rest is history. So I interviewed Jay Johnson and all of the other celebrities. Terry Fader was there and all of the other folks who were there, and then Gary said, you really need to interview this little girl, and I said, only if her parents are there, I'll be, and I was like, okay, we'll talk, and it ended up being Darci, and he was right. She became quite famous, of course, and then years later, I would start writing for her just by. So it was interesting, but a part of as part of the team, obviously.
Well, it's really great because not only are you writing for a lot of the top ventriloquists, but you also have the insight of being a psychologist.
Right.
And so with that and the process of storytelling, I thought we'd ask some questions here about how can the average ventriloquist entertainer put more of that insight into their shows. Like it's just joke after joke after joke, but it could be so much more.
Yeah, well, I think one thing you have to think about is, comedy is all about crossing boundaries and things like that. But I also think you have to think about your demographic and what your demographic wants and what they kind of expect from you as a performer and that sort of thing. But I do think psychologically, the one thing to think about is about yourself is what makes you different and what makes you hugely unique out of 100 ventriloquists. Why are you different? And whether it's the kind of material you do, you were born in an unusual place or in an unusual way. All of these kinds of things that they can contribute to an act and make you really unique.
So you could have a talent, or you could have some sort of a accent, or you come from a different place than most people do, or you have.
And that's the reason I say that is because people have said to me, well, what makes you unique as a podcaster is you're a clinical psychologist, so you know how to do interviews. And that's why people will talk to you. Well, the other thing is we're trained as psychologists to be extremely ethical and not cross the line. So I'm always thinking about this is the person's brand. I'm not going to do anything that's their livelihood. That's what people expect. So I don't push like some people might push because I was just trained differently. But then it's easy to to understand people if you know the right questions to ask and things like that. So I think being a psychologist in the entertainment world or in the writing world or in the vent world that's my difference. And so I always tell people, like, just find what that is when you're trying to market yourself, for instance. You know what I mean?
Excellent, yeah.
Like,
yeah, so that really makes your show really unique and unlike other people's shows. Very, very important. And to know your demographics, like
Right.
you said. So, and that is the audience that you're performing to.
Mm-hmm.
Who are they? What's the age? What are interests? And obviously playing to those.
right.
It doesn't make sense to play some other demographic if you're working with this audience.
Yeah, and so I write for Anna Maria Margian,
Margian.
who was Romania's Got Talent winner.
Yes.
I didn't write then, but also America's Got Talent All Stars, which she came in fourth.
She is
Third?
amazing.
Fourth. And
Yeah.
she's incredible. But you think about who is watching, who is we have with younger ventriloquists, it tends to be a very cross-generational audience. So I always keep that in mind. And I do a lot of writing about cross-generational entertainment.
Okay.
So it's,
Yeah.
If you have that kind of an audience, you need to really think about how you're targeting those jokes
Yes.
and what you're doing.
That's
I'm not saying don't cross the line. I'm just saying
Sure.
know your audience as you do that.
And like so many of the animation movies that are out, they play to the adults as well as the
No,
children.
that's
yeah.
Perfect
Yeah.
example. Perfect example.
Yeah. Wow. So you've been connecting with Gary Owen, and Gary has been working with a lot of the AGT's up and coming stars and winners and such.
Yeah, it's weird how that
ventriloquist.
happens, isn't it?
It's really neat that he's told me about you like over and over and over,
Aw,
and you've
thank
got it.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
So I guess one of my questions is, I know you're really busy and you work a lot with these ventriloquists that are on a fast track. Do you also write for a ventriloquist that would contact you? And
I have,
Okay.
and I have, and it's been really fun. I've worked with a guy who is more of the nightclub
Mhm.
track
Yeah.
and the showroom kind of track,
Exactly.
and that's been really fun. Totally different.
Yes, totally different.
Totally
Know your
different.
audience, yeah.
Just as much fun.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too, and I'll tell you one thing that Gary will say to me is, you're always on top of the celebrity kinds of stuff, which helps when you're writing because celebrity references
Absolutely.
often go over really well.
Mhm.
And so you have to know that, but you also have to know enough about it not to drop it. So just as an example, and it's not one that's happened to me, but you use some celebrity and it's like, no, there was a scandal way back when with that. Don't use that one. And someone will go, I don't know, I didn't know that, or whatever. So it does help to have your hand in on that. The other thing I'm always thinking about is, how is this translating with respect to your brand and your marketing? Is it really how you want to be perceived?
That's really important, because now everything is also online and you are creating a brand. You're not just doing an act. If you're smart, you're creating a brand. You're thinking of yourself as an entire package, not just a show, but a brand with merch, with online presence, with recordings that are being that you could sell, that are archived, that are ongoing, and all that stuff supports who you are and can provide income. So you got to be really careful that you don't blow it.
No, exactly. And I mean, we all make mistakes. It's just out there a lot. A lot more when we do these days.
Yeah, like don't go slap somebody on stage.
No,
don't
it does
do
not
that.
work.
It doesn't help your career at all. So with writing and your background in psychology, do you see you just came from a ventriloquist convention that I wasn't able to get to
I know,
because
we
I'm
missed you so much.
busy.
It was a blast. It was a blast. Great job to Mark Wade and Jody Wade and Jimmy V and company for really making it a blast.
I'm so glad you could stop here and just say hi on your way.
I know. I'm headed to Nashville, and I can't go to Nashville without seeing Steve.
So my question was, when you were there and you're in your analytical mind, right, and you're watching open mics and you're watching shows and things without getting specific,
right?
what are some of the common mistakes that you see happening in routines?
Well, I'm not an expert.
Yeah, but routines,
and you
writing,
know, there's always
the
room
writing
for
part.
tightening of what I
Of
do
course.
and everyone else,
Absolutely.
because it's a learning process. I think number one, the one thing that people don't want to do is they get so caught up in the performance that they focus on that, but also they should get a little more comfortable with writing and with you know, massaging jokes and things like that. I was astounded by their bravery, people getting up there,
Yes.
little kids getting up there.
Yeah, that's
I thought the little kids were held to the schedule a little bit better than the older adults. The little kids were like on time. You know, it's hard as a comic. I do stand up. It's hard to stay on time. You know, you got 3 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever it is, and you're watching for the red light. And I don't think there's a red light there.
Little kids have parents, and they've rehearsed.
I get,
and their parents
yeah.
stop.
So, okay, so that's the advice. Adults rehearse. But that was the interesting, like I noticed that a little bit. But yeah, I think also try to really find your own groove is what I would say. Find what works. Like I saw some really quirky things that I was just cracking up. Anna was sitting next to me. We started cracking up. We're still talking about it. You know, Kevin Driscoll was doing this little bit with his monkeys, and they were, you know, and there was I wasn't drinking. They were singing to each other. Where will we go when you're gone? Because he was talking about dying.
Yeah.
And it was just like these monkeys, where will you go when I'm gone? And it was the
absurdity.
same phrase over and over again. We were just howling. The two of us were just laughing. And I thought, it's that kind of quirky thing where you might go, well, it wasn't joke,
Right,
but it was super quirky, super fun. So I guess that's kind of my advice, is be you know?
Good on you, Kevin. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You made some
fun.
people laugh.
I want that song.
That's right.
And then I turned to the guy behind me. I go, I like that song. And he goes, it sounds like Sergio Mendes. And first I said Menendez because I was like, I was on the True Crime series or something. I was wrong name. But anyway, so it was fun.
That's hilarious.
Fun. And then I found out. And then Kevin said he was a musician, and you know, so you learn a lot about people. I think that's the other thing. I love the collaboration at Vent Haven, and I think, you know, people are really helpful, and I think that's the thing that we need more of around here, and the Vent community could really be a model for.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just so great to share, and one insight leads to another, and you can build on those things, and the more you teach and the more you learn, man, we just get better and better every day. Never stop learning. Never ever stop.
I still haven't learned ventriloquism yet.
Oh, it's next.
You know, Gary says that I have the ability to do it, but I don't practice. Unlike the young stars I work with,
Well,
I don't have a good
they are
practice
putting it
ethic
in.
with that.
Now, a difference between those people that are really driven and are really working hard, and a lot of the people that you see on YouTube is they're putting their rehearsals on YouTube. That's a mistake.
I don't like
Don't
putting
do
my
that.
stuff
Yeah,
on, and especially if you have good stuff. I don't know.
Well, I mean, even failures, even like goofy, I'm learning how to do this, haha. And you know what I mean? It's just like, that doesn't represent you well, and if you're building a brand at some point, that's going to come back to haunt you. You know, get good before you start putting it out there. You can rehearse and do that at home.
And that's the one thing I've seen with these young people, and then I interview people who are, you know, rock and roll Hall of Famers and that sort of thing, and the one thing I see is these people haven't given up. You know, you think, even the people you think are overnight sensations from the early days, they weren't. They've been playing since they were in the garage basement, you know, in the garage bands, you know, when they were in middle school. And I think that's the thing, is the practice.
Totally.
It's a totally different work ethic, but it's a practice that it's not a forced practice. It's something that they have to do. Like, it's inside. Is kind of what I see.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the kids that are putting stuff out on YouTube and TikTok and stuff, when they're not ready, is they're putting it out there, and that's good for confidence if you're good. It's terrible if you're getting bad responses back. And it's not the place to do it. it's really, you need to rehearse and kind of hone your skills a little bit before you put it out there. And that is
self-esteem is
it's very
important to hold on to, right?
Yeah, you can get smashed with being sloppy.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I love the fact that and within our group we have a forum, an Axtell Entertainers Forum online, and in there you can put your videos up and stuff, but just don't throw them on TikTok and YouTube and stuff unless you're ready.
Right.
We can help you get there. Yeah.
Right.
And Nancy, you could help write routines as well.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can. I can.
So excellent. How do people get a hold of you?
People can get a hold of me via my website. I'm on nancyberk.com or drnancyberk.com if that makes you feel
Spell
like
Berk
I'm more
for us.
official. B-E-R-K. Good point. B-E-R-K. And yeah, you can just reach me that way.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do for the ventriloquism
Thank you.
community.
Appreciate
You're
it.
a god.
Oh.
Yeah. Thanks.